Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to our webinar. We are excited to be here with you to talk about cloud-focused automated revenue management in the digital solutions economy. And I'm excited to have my friend, colleague, expert, and frequent guest on the webinars here, Pete Graham. Welcome to the webinar, and thanks again for joining us.
Thanks, John. Good to be here on a great fall day.
Yeah, yes. It's sort of what we call fall here in Arizona, is mean it's not 100 degrees. So we're excited here.
Nice.
So with that, everybody, we are going to get started, get rolling. We are recording this webinar, and we are excited to be able to present it to you. You'll be able to download the webinar from our homepage. So go check that out. Ask questions throughout the session. We have Pete here, and we're also fortunate enough to have a couple of other experts in the area available to us as well in this field. So please feel free to ask any questions you want throughout the broadcast. As I mentioned, you can contact us. Again, you can go to our website and download our content and check it out through the web page. Check out the resource section. You can go to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all available throughout there. And of course, you can subscribe to the podcasts, our Insight to Action podcasts, featuring many guests like Pete and others from SAP and other organizations. Check those out in Apple iTunes or iHeartRadio. And we'd love to see you available there. And of course, what we will be doing as you ask some questions, we'll revisit some of the topics or some of the ideas that come out of here in a podcast that'll be available to everybody after this. So again, feel free to check that out. So today we're going to talk about the cloud. We've talked about last month really the concept of automated revenue management as an overall topic and how it relates to this concept of the digital solutions economy. But today we're going to focus in on what that means from a cloud perspective, and we'll define what we mean by that in a little bit. I want to frame this, and we'll talk about comply, optimize, and transform. Again, remind everybody of that framework. Pete will introduce and we'll talk about automated revenue management and some of the great work that's going on there. And then we will show you a demo of SAP's cloud-based solution. It's called event-based revenue recognition in the cloud, and it has some great applications, and we encourage folks to check it out. It's a great tool for those of you who have some specific applications, and then we'll wrap up again, and don't forget to ask your questions throughout the broadcast. So just as a reminder to reframe, what exactly is this concept of the digital solutions economy? And we're very specific to talk about it as the next evolution of the subscription economy. And we know that companies have been doing subscriptions for a long time. It has been around, whether you do online subscriptions. I know I've subscribed to several different podcasts, different shows on woodworking, classical music, and things like that. We all have subscriptions, but it's getting a subscription, regular payment in return for a service. But there's so much more to this. It expands beyond that to something as a service. Only pay for what you use. We are all familiar with software as a service, infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and of course now SAP has this awesome RISE program that is really business transformation as a service. So you can get pretty much anything these days as a service. You have entitlements, and as you do things like games or music or other content, you're entitled to things. We have dynamic pricing models. Think of Uber, airlines, and others. Outcome-based pricing is another model. Usage and consumption-based pricing. And think of those as two sides of the coin. One is a consumption-based model or usage. One is a pay ahead. One is a pay in arrears, but they're both basically the same kinds of models. And then what we're seeing increasingly in this space is this idea, and we see talking with customers about revenue sharing models. This is particularly true as we see in the software industry, media in particular, gaming, but many others, as we see companies offering their solutions through other platforms, and there becomes a revenue sharing model, very much like what we used to see, indirect and direct channels in the physical environment. You have this same kind of a thing in a digital environment. And how do you account for all this? And that's why we believe that subscription doesn't really describe where we're going. And what we are seeing is companies like these, US Cellular, HPE, Bondi, Chewy, and others, redefining the kinds of models that they have with their customers and redefining how they go to market. Um, and it's not just a substitution model, it's an expansion model where they're adding an opportunity for you as a customer to expand and deliver on that. And I know, Pete, you see a lot of that. Any thoughts or comments from you on that?
Yeah, I just think these new business models are just accelerating. I mean, it's just every day we're getting new customers that are coming in saying, hey, we want to use some kind of, introduce some kind of subscription model, right? So this whole idea of paying for the good or service and not owning the product seems to be, you know, widespread, right? And we're seeing a lot of industries doing it, not just high tech, right?
Exactly. And one of the interesting things, I read a McKinsey study, and it was a similar article from Bain Consulting recently about subscription wear out. We have seen from COVID and everything that people are signing up for subscriptions, but they're getting subscription wear out. And they have this issue,
Too many
think of
subscriptions? Yes.
well, too many subscriptions, Pete, or too many that they sign up for and then they don't realize at the end of the month, oh my God, I have $100 in subscriptions every month. Maybe I only want to pay for what I use, or other of these models. And so we're starting to see again a shift from pure subscriptions to these other models.
Here's you
Um,
going.
right? And I think that's great, because the other thing that we're seeing is, forcing, and that highlights the idea of customers moving to the cloud, and cloud-based models, and that's what we're going to talk about today. But to remind everybody, what we are seeing is this idea of the customer engagement starting, and customers wanting to engage either via the cloud, via mobile devices, how they want. They want to create dynamic solutions. Um, Flexible delivery and fulfillment, designing and asking for things to be delivered, whether they are physical goods or electronic goods. They want to determine the when, the where, and the how that they get them. And that, of course, has implications. They want unified billing and invoicing. How do I get my bills the way I want to see them? We have a current customer who does both the sale of a particular um, good or asset, but they have rentals. And the rentals, the sale of the individual item is a very expensive item, and that gets done as a capital good, but the rental is an OPEX. And so they want separate bills for that because they go to separate accounts and separate accounting. So we see a lot of that. They have separate billing systems that they might want to use tools like Brim for to help with converging invoicing or converging charging on ratables. And of course, that has implications to flexible payments and collections. Customers want flexible options. And finally, they want you to secure privacy, security, and risk and manage that. And we hear about things like hacking all the time. We hear about how do you manage my privacy. Pete and I were just talking about GDPR and the California privacy requirements and all of those. And we're seeing more and more of that. Think of the requirements to secure payment information through credit cards, or the involvement of cryptocurrencies, right? So we see a lot of this. And what's happening is the customers are beginning to drive the models, and how do businesses react to that? And we believe, together with SAP, that SAP really offers this end-to-end model. And it is both a premises-based, or a premises-based solution, but increasingly watching customers use the cloud to offer these. And SAP and our partners offer commerce solutions. How do you do commerce? How do we enable customers to do that? How do you enable your customers? You're looking at tools such as SAP Sales and Distribution, CPQ, which is configure, price, and quote, and other tools, supply chain and logistics. In fact, next week we'll be talking about entitlements with a member of SAP who's a product owner for the entitlements product, so check that out. Finance, billing, and invoice, cash and treasury, and of course we're here to talk about, that's great, but how do I get more information and how do I manage that? And we're seeing increasingly, and again, Pete, I'm going to ask you a question about what you're seeing, but we're seeing increasingly in the marketplace the interconnectivity of revenue accounting, whether it's using tools like RAR or tools like EBRR, but their interconnectivity to all of these different areas has been crucial as customers are implementing these solution-based models. So Pete, I assume, we've talked about this, but you would agree with that, right?
Yes, I would. Yep.
So,
I mean, I know when we started talking about this framework, framework on the digital solution economy and how it kind of evolved, but it is very useful, right? It's just like when we talk about the comply, optimize, and transform, it seems like these tools, these methodologies are very robust in the sense that they're very good at helping customers understand where they are and kind of
right.
how they can progress along their journey, or how maybe their current operations are situated. So.
Exactly. And we have other videos that I encourage you to watch, but this is not a one size fits all. It's not a single on-ramp that says you have to take everything. Think of this as different opportunities to approach the challenges that you have as you face this digital solutions economy. And in particular, this is where tools like EBRR and the cloud-based tools really help you layer in, if you have an existing infrastructure that might be a heterogeneous infrastructure, how do I get revenue recognition to work in a way that allows me to leverage that, and I don't have to put all my eggs in one basket, or I have particular scenarios. So that's all part of what we're talking about. So with that, I'm going to also talk about this concept of, and Pete and I talk about, comply, optimize, and transform. And what we've seen over the almost a decade now, it's been 7-8 years that we've been working together on the ASC 606 transformations, but we've really been seeing customers moving away from and starting to move away from, they've started to comply, but how do I move into optimize? How do I create and optimize what I'm doing together and connect those processes? I've established this foundation, but now I want to optimize. And even more of these customers are starting to look at the transformation. How do I move from process automation and process and operational excellence to transformation? And Pete, we're going to talk about, and we'll talk about, even some customers are skipping this process, the middle step entirely, and saying, look, I want to move to transformation. I want to move to the cloud now. I've been on SAP for years, and I want to leapfrog, right?
Yeah, I mean, that gets into the RISE discussion, right? Jumping, right from maybe on-premise to private cloud. But we are seeing this actually from other customers that just, are on older systems, maybe they're non-SAP systems, and have decided, look, instead of trying to do all of these upgrades of ERP or different migration techniques, they said, look, we're just going to jump to the cloud, right? So they kind of skip right over the optimization, and they kind of do that. I'm going to oversimplify, right? You're basically going to jump right to the transformation piece, and along the way you're going to basically streamline your processes. Now you can do that because when you jump to, for instance, the SAP cloud solutions, they already have processes embedded in many cases that are streamlined over the ERP version that the customer's coming from, right? And so we'll talk about one of those cases where a customer came from kind of a non-SAP old legacy system and jumped right to the cloud. But yeah, I think that's an important point that, there are a lot of options, to solve this problem. And so, optimizing along the way is certainly one of them, in the sense of, you could optimize incremental step by step, or in some cases you can take a bigger step and go right to transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with that, Pete,
And
I'm going to
again,
turn it over to you. Go. Do you want to say something? Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, and again, this is a great framework that you can use for a lot of topics. And, we've used it for the lease topic and also for this revenue
Yeah.
recognition or
Yeah.
automated revenue management topic. But yeah,
Absolutely.
let's talk a little bit more on the SAP side.
Absolutely. So, it's been my pleasure to continue to see the evolution of this. I think the unbelievable um, evolution of the product since we first started 7, 8 years ago, Pete, to where automated revenue management has taken us today has been just amazing to watch. And you guys have done such a terrific job in this. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about it?
Sure. I mean, we certainly have been over the last, now I'll call it about 10 years, looking at the space, um, very extensively. And what we've seen is that this is really a spectrum of requirements, and it's really diverse, right? And it simply amazes me and we're talking with customers every day, and it just simply amazes me the diversity that we're seeing, right? From very low volume and simple accounting and low complexity all the way to high and really ultra high volume, and it seems ultra high complexity. And if you click on the next spacebar, right, you'll get then some of the scenarios we're talking about, right? Sell from stock, subscription billing, project-based services, deferred revenues, multiple element arrangements. That just gives the audience and the attendees kind of an idea of some of the scenarios that we're seeing. But there's actually lots more, right?
Oh,
But
absolutely.
yeah, sorry, you had a comment, John?
No, I said absolutely. We just see, we every time we think we've seen it all, we see something new.
Right.
Absolutely.
It's always a, yeah. So what we see is, customers, there are a common set of requirements we would see in an industry, but, customers always have something unique, right? Um, so anyway, I think, our perspective on automated revenue management from solutions from SAP is that we've really tried to think about, simplifying and automating. Really, that's our brand goal, and really providing better experiences and better insights. Now, this is a slide that summarizes the event-based revenue recognition solution, and we're going to see a demo of this in the cloud. Um, some of the benefits are the real-time reporting and no reconciliation that are really because of the S/4HANA intelligent enterprise architecture, because of the in-memory database, because of the universal journal, right? And allows you that full transparency where you can drill right from the accounts or summary documents right to the line items, right? And so that's also one of these things, when we talked about going over that optimization step, there are actually processes in here with no reconciliation efforts that are much more efficient than their ERP equivalent, right? And so that's why you can potentially do that, right? So
Hmm.
the product capabilities are just much better when you look at how interoperable they are, right? And there's a lot of batch processing that's not needed anymore, right? In the
Absolutely. Mhm.
ERP
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, and I think that that's an interesting thing about the public cloud that really is powerful for a lot of customers wanting to make that transition based on standard set or best practices, standard set of processes allows you to really take advantage of this functionality in a way that leapfrogs trying to optimize. And this, EBRR or event-based revenue recognition is a great example of that integration and the power of being able to do that with the flexibility that cloud provides as well, right?
Right. Yeah. So the next slide is just some of the UI that you'll see. This is the Fiori UI and some of the real-time embedded analytics. Again, giving you better streamlined processes, better experiences, better insights in the embedded analytics. I think we now go to the next slide. I mean, you'll see that in the demo, right? That you're going to show.
Okay.
This is the customer success story. We had a customer literally that leapfrogged, right? And this is why we highlighted that a little bit, but they were looking for some compliance tools on revenue recognition, but they were also looking for, they were on an older mixed mode ERP landscape, legacy systems. They were not SAP, and they really wanted to, kind of call it kill two birds at once, right? They wanted to,
Mm-hmm.
get into the cloud, get optimized, right? And so really they wanted a transformation, right? So they were able to jump from the ERP world into the cloud world and also adopt the processes right in the public cloud and streamline a lot of things. And one of those things they were able to also streamline along the way was the revenue recognition using the event-based revenue recognition tool. So, I think it's a great success story, and we'll see more of those as time goes on. So
Absolutely, and we see customers with these different opportunities, and we're excited to see more of it as well.
yeah, so now we're going to go demo. I think if you click it, you'll see that here's are some of the RevRec methods that are available in the cloud for event-based revenue recognition. I think if you click one more, you'll see a little demo. There you go, pop up. That's kind of the focus of the demo that you'll see next.
Absolutely. Yep.
So I think, let's go to the demo. And again, this is also, this information is in the Best Business Practice Explorer. So anyway, but let's get on to the demo.
Let's cross our fingers.
Yep.
You can see my screen.
I can see it.
Can you hear it?
I can't really hear it. Maybe I have to put it up louder or something. So this obviously is the home page, the tiles. This is the viewer UI. I can't really hear the talk track.
So you can't hear it at all, Pete?
I cannot. Is your volume? Are you hearing it playing back on your computer, John?
Yes.
Maybe you have
Let
to
me
move
try. Hang on
the
one second.
microphone closer to your speaker or something.
Is that any better, Pete?
Sorry, I still can't hear the demo. I can hear you.
All right, let's pause.
I'm starting to hear it now, but it needs to be a little louder.
Okay, let's.
Third time's the charm.
Is third time it's working now? Let's see if we can get. Let's see if we can get this working here. All right. Sorry, everybody. We tested this. I tested this earlier. It worked. So, all right.
Yeah, I can't really hear it, John. I don't know if you want to see if Chenchu wants to do the voiceover live.
Yeah. Let's pause for a minute. Yeah, for some reason, what I'll do is I'll re-embed this. For some reason, I don't know why it was working earlier today. So let me just see, somebody is suggesting, let me just look real quick to options, sharing. I apologize, everybody. Thanks for hanging in there. So let me just see. Yeah. Yeah. Somebody had suggested there might be a sharing like in Teams, but unfortunately I can't find that. It seemed to work. Just give me one more moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, share my screen. Yeah, Jacek is trying to tell me share my screen. Screen of monitor 2. Yeah, there's no media sound box that's in here.
Maybe you just have to show it from the PowerPoint, kind of the regular PowerPoint view, John, instead of the, or whatever you did last night when you were doing the testing.
Oh, I had
Not,
yeah, I had somebody else log on and for some reason it worked. I don't know why.
okay.
Maybe we can impose on Chenshu. Would you be willing? I know you're on, and thank you for joining. Thank God you joined. Would you be willing to kind of walk us through and describe it, Chenshu?
Yes, I can do that.
All right. Thank you. I apologize. All right. So I'll get started, and we'll go ahead. I'm going to turn the volume down in my ears because it'll be 2 people. So, all right. So do you want to set it up, Chenshu, and then I'll start?
So yes, you can start. Just one moment. I need to find the screen. Okay. Now I see the demo.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. Let's try.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you so much.
So in this demo, we would like to look at the capabilities of event-based revenue recognition in the context of project-based services scenario. So event-based revenue recognition does not only provide revenue recognition in line with the accounting standards, but also serves all management reporting requirements in real time. I'm now in the role of a project manager, managing customer projects. So as a project manager, I'm responsible for planning the project phases and work packages, agree on the staffing, and also define the billing milestones with my customer. And for simplicity reasons, on this demo, we will show a prepared example. So we now start with this customer project. This is already in execution phase. And in this scenario, we have an implementation project created for a software package to analyze marketing insights, which was sold to our customer intelligent solutions. The implementation is scheduled for the duration of 3 months from the beginning of September to the end of November. Now we can navigate to the Work Packages tab. Here, if we click Work Package, we can see there are different phases scheduled for the project, including planning, implementation, as well as training. Each of these phases is associated with a specific effort and also planned costs and planned revenue. For example, the planning phase is scheduled until September 13 with an effort of 40 hours. and a planned cost of $2,000 and a planned revenue of $4,000. In other words, for each hour, we charge our customer $100. Now we can go to the second tab, which is team. So here we can see the roles and resources have already been assigned to the work packages. For the planning, we have the senior consultant Elisa Wilson assigned. Also, the solution supports various billing models, including fixed price, timed expense, periodic service, and usage-based. In our use cases, we have the fixed price project, which has been sold with the corresponding billing milestones along the project phases. Each billing item represents a performance obligation, and the revenue is evaluated for each item based on work in process. The billing plays a major role as it affects the balance sheet side for receivables as well as deferred revenue. However, for the purpose of this demo, we will focus on the real-time revenue recognition options. Keeping this in mind, we will now have a look at the profitability overview to start with. As mentioned in the introduction, with event-based revenue recognition, we can perform revenue recognition not only real-time and in line with different accounting standards, but also serve the internal management reporting requirements. The real-time matching of costs and revenue includes market segment information for every revenue recognition posting, such as profit center and project, and there is no need for additional settlement processes of business objects. On the overview, we can see our top projects by margin, and we can also see the recognized revenue and the costs for our organization and the current balance sheet position associated with our projects in this company code, as you can see in the WIP. Now let's focus on our project shown earlier. So for this, for our project, a revenue of $400 has already been posted, which translates to 4 hours at $100, as shown earlier in the project. Revenue is a result of the cost posting of 4 hours and $50 per hour. Now let's have a look at the revenue recognition solution in action. For this, we navigate to the activity recording. For the purpose of this demo, as the project manager, I will perform the time recording tasks for my consultant on the project. Usually that would be a regular task for the consultant. I will do the activity recording for the current month and for my project only. Now this overview shows that 4 hours were already recorded, as we have seen in the project profitability overview. Currently, only activities for my consultant Elisa are shown, as only this project phase is active. To enter activities, I will now activate the line for Elisa and choose the button Edit Timesheet. I now want to capture activities of 10 hours for my project. With the real-time revenue recognition, I would expect additional revenues of $1,000 at a cost of $500 as per earlier prices outlined. As soon as the activities are recorded, the solution posts the costs in what we refer to as Universal Journal. The Universal Journal is the single source of truth for all accounting processes, including revenue recognition. The revenue recognition process is fully integrated into Universal Journal. The revenue recognition data is stored in the same location as costs and revenue data, and there is no separate persistence, which significantly reduces reconciliation efforts. Now, let's save and submit activities. Please stop. Okay. Yeah. Before we can look at the cost and revenue postings, however, we first have to approve the activities. Now, as a project manager, I have to approve the tasks, which I do now from my inbox. Here, I can filter the request submitted for the project. For the consultant, Elisa, I need to approve the hours which we have already submitted. Now I select the 2 entries for my consultant. And I will approve the requests. This was now the immediate trigger to post costs, and real-time also recognize the corresponding revenue. To approve these real-time effects, let's now move back to the project profitability overview from earlier. Now let us focus on our project. You remember that we had costs posted of $200 and revenues of $400. With the additional 10 hours, we expect now revenues of $1,400 at a cost of $700. The recognized revenue is calculated based on the revenue recognition method configured for this particular customer project. Event-based revenue recognition offers also various different revenue recognition methods. In this scenario, a percentage of completion-based method has been configured for the customer project. Revenue as a result is recognized real-time with the cost posting, not only fulfilling the matching principle of revenue and cost, but also allowing an immediate real-time reporting. Event-based revenue recognition also allows to perform revenue recognition for different accounting principles in parallel. For example, if you have to perform revenue recognition according to the completed contract method in the local German accounting standard, and in parallel according to the percentage of completion for IFRS for your group books. Now, in our scenario, with cost postings, the revenue has already been posted to all ledgers which have been activated in the system. From the profitability overview, I can also access to far more details by navigating to the project profitability report. In the navigation panel, I can easily drill down for GL counts and profitability attributes such as customer group and also product group. In this way, we can really provide a custom view about profitability for your customer projects in real time. Thanks to the seamless integration of event-based revenue recognition, profitability analysis, and Universal Journal for every revenue recognition posting, the profitability attributes are filled in. that allows multi-dimensional reporting for your revenue and margins, as you can see in this project profitability report. Also, each revenue recognition posting is linked with the reference document, and users can navigate from revenue recognition postings to the reference documents and vice versa. This provides a full transparency and clear audit trails in your books. Now I would like to summarize the demo. Event-based revenue recognition is fully integrated into the end-to-end process of project-based services. The solution automates revenue recognition for customer projects with a rich set of revenue recognition methods that comply with different accounting standards. The matching of cost and revenue is ensured real time, and there is no need for settlement and reconciliations. With integrated profitability, the solution meets all management accounting requirements, and the financial performance of the business objects can be easily analyzed, thereby increasing the efficiency and also the margin of the companies. So with that, I'm at the end of the demo, and I would like to give it back to to John, I think.
Yes, thank you, Chen-Chu, and you were awesome. So thank you so much for that.
Yes, thanks, Chen-Chu. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else you wanted to add about EBRR before we start wrapping up?
No, I mean, from my perspective, this is Pete. It's just, you know, I think the innovation cycle is quarterly, right? So there's constantly new innovations and revenue recognition models being supported. John, I don't know if you meant that for me or Chen-Chu. So
either one. I mean, I kind of threw that out there for either you or Chen-Chu. I mean, Chen-Chu, you know, if you wanted to add anything, we talked about one scenario. And again, thank you so much for stepping in. You know, anything else you wanted to add about EBRR? Feel free, you know, please do.
Okay.
Well, with that,
That's
you know,
yep.
Yeah. So Pete, you know, we saw the EBRR, and you know, I think it's a great solution, and I know we'll talk about other customer scenarios that it's available for. You know, as we went back to the other slide, remind everybody. I'm going to go back real quick. You know, we did see one specific scenario here, but there are many different scenarios that EBRR supports, and many of them I think customers will find extremely useful for them, and you know, particularly because it's a cloud-based solution, it gives you a lot more flexibility. So, anything else you want to add to Pete?
Just that, you know, a lot of these RevRec methods can be seen on the SAP Best Practice Business Explorer application, right? So that you can constantly stay up to date on all the RevRec methods that are available.
Great. So with that, I just want to wrap up and thank Pete and thank Chen-Chu again so much for joining and stepping in when we had some technical difficulties. But you know, in the end, what we are seeing is customers are driving how they want to interact and transact with us, meaning SAP, with customers, their customers, and your customers. And you need to be able to support that. And we're seeing many, many more customers who are our customers, companies moving to the cloud. And they're moving to the cloud to really leapfrog innovation and drive the kinds of innovation and transformations that they want in their business, giving them the flexibility that a public cloud environment allows them. Number one, you know, when you think of the public cloud, it gives you scalability. You can add users, take users off. It really is very flexible from that perspective. It gives you, as Pete noted, a constant innovation cycle, always improving. The product always has things added to it and has improvements added to it. And you benefit as a user of a public cloud, a multi-tenant environment, from those innovations real time. And of course, because it's based on a fit to standard approach, or a best practices approach, integration and interoperability work that much better. And so you can take advantage of those innovations and scalability. And again, because it's cloud, using simple tools, whether it's through tools that SAP provides with APIs, or other tools that are available through iPaaS technology, MuleSoft and many others, you can integrate these tools easily. Pete talked about in the beginning, and we always emphasize that automated revenue management is a flexible portfolio of solutions, and they're scalable tools and support everything from the simplest make to stock simple solutions that we've seen here, all the way to some of the most complex organizations in the world with multi-element arrangements, large enterprises like everybody does a search, so Google and gaming companies and some of the largest companies in the world leverage tools like RAR to help them, and it's really a flexible framework. What we would ask you to do is act now, because this world is coming. It is here now, and is not going to slow down. So we ask you, reach out to us, reach out to SAP, check out the solution brief that's available through sap.com. There's some great information there, great information on our website. Pete, did you want to add anything in wrapping up, please?
Yeah, I just think, these any of these changes always take a little longer than you think. So I think, the sooner you start acting on it or trialing it or doing a pilot or proof of concept, the better off you are.
Absolutely, and that's another great thing about the cloud is there's often environments and tools that you can get pretty much a hands-on feel, and there's lots of videos available from Chenchu and other folks in the SAP team to give you insights to that. So again, Pete, thank you so much. Chenchu, thank you again so much for being on. I know it's late, so we'll let you run. And I want to thank everybody for joining. Follow up with us. We are eager to hear more about your journey in revenue accounting. We're here to support you. And as my friend and colleague would say, everybody, thank you, and make it a great day.